It's Wednesday, June 28th. Everybody, welcome. John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report. Glad to see everybody. We're going to be talking today about the latest news from the war in Ukraine. Let me get TikTok rolling here. TikTok. Post coup. We'll still leave post coup up because it is still post coup. All right. Boom. TikTok. Hello. There we go. Anyway, hey guys. If you would introduce yourselves, please do. I'm going to switch my view on TikTok because everybody complains. There we go. Okay. Hello. Hello, y'all. How's it going? Oh, boy. How are we? Oh, hey, Nick. Oh, thank you for that, Nick. I just saw that you signed up as a member. You may be our first subscriber. It gave me a little notice when I started the show. Thank you for that. That was very nice of you. And hopefully, actually, I'm going to double check when we leave that it sets you up on Discord as well. Hey, TikTokers. Actually, I have to remember. We've got to remember. Actually, I don't know if Syndicate. Oh, Syndicate, you are there. We've got to remember after the show to hook up the bot thing to YouTube we talked about, because I now have a subscriber, Nick, which is very nice of him. So we've got to make sure that they're connected. So anyway, hey guys, welcome everybody. John Aravosis here. How's everybody doing? Hey, Ashley. Thank you for the gifts, Frank. Manda, Otan, all the regulars are here. Lovely. Oh, we did have a fire alarm last night, but I know it's not the safest thing, but I literally have I think I showed you. Did I show you guys last night? I literally had to tape up my building fire alarm in my unit. It's not the fire alarm like the regular fire alarm. The regular fire alarm is okay. This is the building-wide fire alarm. We had fire alarms go off during my show yesterday. You guys might have recalled. It was kind of a zoo. And I finally had to do this to the fire alarm so it wouldn't just wake me up in the middle of the night and freak out my poor dog. That would be a pillow on top of a ladder taped against the wall. So, and apparently it did go off like at 3 or 4 in the morning, and Sasha and I didn't hear it. And I know it's dangerous, but when it's going off twice a day, you just kind of have to hope that you don't have any fires. It did go off briefly, like this afternoon or something, for literally like half a minute. But because I've got it taped up, Sasha got up. She was concerned, but she wasn't sure. And then it went off and she went back to sleep. And I was like, yes. You know when the dog isn't freaked out, that like you've won. It's like having a baby. If the baby doesn't wake up and start crying, you've won that day. So, oh, hey, Bopo in Gothenburg. Good to see you. Oh, anyway, hey, everybody. All righty. So welcome all. I am John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report. Thanks, Wayne. This is my nightly show, 6 p.m. Eastern time, U.S. That's New York City time. Even though I'm in Washington, D.C., we have the same time zone. Thank you, Martin. But 6 p.m. Eastern time, U.S. every night, Monday to Friday. I do the show looking at the latest news from Ukraine. Last couple days, we've talked about a lot of the aftermath from the coup attempt. We're going to talk about that again today, but also there finally is, other news today that I'll be slipping in as well. So we'll be doing all of that. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, as always, if anybody's new here, the way you submit questions on TikTok, the easiest way, okay, look, you can submit questions on the screen, of course. That's totally cool. But they go flying by and I often don't see them. The best way is to submit them via the Q&A link that is in my profile on TikTok. You go to my profile, look for the Q&A. That way they line up in a row and they don't go away. So there's a better chance of me seeing them. For you guys, obviously, super chat, super stickers are fine for you. Oh, thank you, LWD. Our super chats, I should say. Thank you, Inspired. Now, the way it works in terms of thanking you guys for the gifts, I do this full time. I do it for free. So I always kind of hit you guys up for the gifts because they do basically pay my bills and it helps me keep doing this. So thank you for that. On TikTok, you can do the groovy dino, as Tom's calling it, or other such gifts. Whenever I see those gifts pop up on the screen, the big ones, I will always try to do a shout out. The little ones like the hearts, there's so many, which by the way, thank you, that there's no, like we've already had 8,000 likes. I can't call out everyone, but thank you guys. But for the big gifts that show up, I will always try to do a shout out if I see it. So thank you, like Ellie, thank you for that. For you guys, super chat and super stickers, same thing. I'll do a shout out. And for super chat questions, I will always attempt, thank you, Poppy. I will always attempt to get to the super chat question as the next thing I talk about. I'll always get to the super chat questions, but if I see it and if I miss it, the mods remind me. Thank you, Carol. So let's get rolling. And I was going to say, and thank you to Nick again on YouTube, because we set up the YouTube subscriptions. That's another way of subscribing and supporting my work with just basically, basically donating on a monthly basis. Thank you, Ellie. And Nick just signed up. So anyway, it's another thing you can do on YouTube. Did I say TikTok? Maybe I did. On YouTube, and it makes you a VIP member in our Discord. But you got to set up a Discord and you've got to link the two and all of that. But nonetheless, if you're on Discord, it's kind of an added benefit too. All right, guys, let's get rolling. Hey, Martin, thank you for that hat. So today is, wow, my notes are all inside out here. Where are my notes? Where are my notes? Today is day 489 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation. It's going so well, he decided to continue it for another 486 days. The Wall Street Journal, thank you, McFadge. Very nice gift. Thank you. The Wall Street Journal reported today. Actually, there were a number of stories last night. Wall Street Journal was maybe the ultimate one, but I think the Washington Post and others were reporting on what the Russians actually knew about what Prigozhin was doing. Now, and I will make this like the summariest, the biggest summary. I was going to say the summary, but the like ultimate summary of what happened with the coup. Prigozhin runs a mercenary group, soldiers for hire. They fight in Ukraine. They also fight around the world. Thank you, Martin. He gets pissed at the Ministry of Defense. Doesn't like them. Thinks they're bad. Thinks they're killing his troops. Thinks they're killing the other troops. Decides to have a mutiny. Decides to go kidnap the minister of defense, as they call them there, and the top general. He's going to kidnap him. He fails. Marches on Moscow. Fails. Reaches a negotiation with Putin. In terms of what the Russians knew, there is new intelligence that it looks like the Russians may have actually known what he was doing. Now, thank you, LWD, for the gift there. Very interesting. I'm actually looking at my notes. I'm just going to read it. Russian intel found out about, apparently, Russian intelligence allegedly found out about the plot to grab the Minister of Defense and to grab the top general. He was going to kidnap the two of them. And because Prigozhin then found out that the Russian intelligence knew of his plans, he sped them up. So he may have launched the plan too early. That's the first problem. Second of all, because Shoigu and Gerasimov themselves, the two he wanted to kidnap, may have been informed of the plan. Not clear if they were. That's a whole sort of outstanding thing here. Even though our intelligence, I believe, believes that Russian intelligence knew, we don't know if Russian intelligence told anybody. So did they tell Putin? Did they tell the generals? We don't know, right? There's some, just on CNN I was watching, and the correspondent was saying that some intelligence people he was talking to, I think they might have been European intelligence folks, were saying that they believed that Russian intelligence may have wanted the coup to succeed. So, I mean, it's still like a cluster F as far as, this whole thing concerns for Putin. But anyway, we believe now, thank you, Tom, we believe now that Russian intelligence knew of his plans. He found out that Russian intelligence knew his plans, and therefore he accelerated them. Second problem, because, thank you for the hat there. Who's that? Tomcat? Thank you, Tom, for the hat, and Courtney for the little heart thing. Because Russian intelligence found out, and possibly Prigozhin and possibly Gerasimov and Shoigu, the two he wanted to kidnap, found out he couldn't get them. That could be part of the reason he decided to go to Moscow, right? So that, that was a nice little gift there. Who was that? Tomcat and Courtney. Somebody else threw something on the screen that I just lost. Okay, it's not showing me. Anyway, thank you for that. That may be the reason he went to Moscow. He may have gone to Moscow. I mean, I'm sorry, but I had to laugh. We had the best. Thank you for the two gifts there. Sorry, that was Ernie, and sorry, we do have a number of gifts popping up. That was really funny, actually. Good job, Audrey, on getting that guy. So we had a Russian troll come on. Clearly Russian. He had the Z in his profile, and he writes in capital. What I love about the Russians is how bad they are at this. They're not just bad at war, they're really bad at electronic war. I mean, they did a great job in 2016 screwing up our election in the States. They did a good job there. But when it comes to being trolls on the internet, it's like they're from Mars. The guy came and wrote in all capital letters, "Stop brainwashing kids." It's like, stop brainwashing kids? Like, dude, you're trolling the wrong forum. He probably got he got one of the other trolls talking points. You know what I mean? And like he came here and it was like, no. This isn't that forum. It's the Ukraine talking points. Stop brainwashing children. Oh my, these people. So sorry, Wilson Pava has a has a super chat question or observation. Thank you for the gift there. By the way, sorry, real quick, Wilson, before I get to this, I've noticed when the little beaver pops up, it's not showing me who's giving me the beavers. So I said calling him a beaver. Thank you for that. But I just noticed that the second time. Thank you guys who have been giving those. But the second time it popped up, and I did not see your name pop up, so I apologize for that. But thank you for the little beavery thing. Wilson, maybe Putin's the one that needs to watch out for Windows. Elizabeth, okay, I see Elizabeth. Thank you. You know what they do? Sorry, real quick, we figured something out. It throws it at the very top of the screen, but then it goes away. So if I don't see it at the top of the screen, it's not in the comments. That's why. Okay, thank you for that. And I just wanted to make sure you guys understood why I wasn't responding. So thank you. So Wilson says it may be that Putin's the one who has to watch out for Windows if Russian intelligence knew and wanted it to succeed. Can't wait to see what else comes out. Thank you, Martin, for that. We'll see. That's the great thing. Putin is super duper paranoid. Thank you, Wayne. Putin is super paranoid. So, and user as well. If he's already totally freaked out about people trying to kill him, about COVID, about everything else. Remember the long tables, how he's got to be like 40 feet away from anybody who's visiting, right? This kind of stuff. Thank you, Stephen. Very cute for the super chat. So you've got that to start with. Then you've got, basically you've got a paranoid that somebody actually tried to kill, right? Like nobody better to freak out than a paranoid who actually, there was some joke about that. Like, just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean someone's doesn't mean someone isn't trying to get me. In this case, he is paranoid and someone did try to get him. And it now looks like not only were his security services possibly involved, but I was going to get to this. I'm going to tell you right now, it looks like one of his top generals might have been involved as well. Media reported last night that Washington Post reported last night that General Surovikin, who I believe is the number 2 in the Russian military, also may be in charge of the Air Force, I think, he allegedly, according to intelligence officials, was approached by Prigozhin. Prigozhin he's the number 2 in the Russian military, was told by Prigozhin about what was happening. Surovikin, exactly, was told by the Russian military, or by Prigozhin, what was happening, and maybe he was going to join in. Thank you, Allie, for the drink. Maybe he was General Armageddon. That is his nickname. They call him General Armageddon. Maybe he was going to join in. And then he's the general, by the way. If you remember, towards the beginning of the coup, a general sort of went on television and did one of these hostage videos saying, "Don't do this, Prigozhin," and literally looked like a hostage video. That was him. And the hostage video already seemed weird because it was like, dude, why isn't your heart more in this? Saying, don't kill Putin, don't overthrow the government. Well, now the article comes out and says that this guy was part of the coup, in essence, that he had been told about it. Maybe he was going to help and then changed his mind at the last minute. Now, what's interesting about that is one of the things that pretty much, I was going to say I've said, but pretty much anybody looking at this has said, you guys as well, it doesn't quite make sense why Prigozhin backed off, right? From the outside, he seemed to be doing well, right? He took over Rostov, that city in the south, which is key to reinforcing Russian troops in Ukraine. His troops made it halfway to Moscow. They didn't seem to be hitting much opposition, and we all were going, "Why did you stop and negotiate with Putin?" Right? You seem to be doing really well. Thank you, Scott. Well, one of the possibilities is that he was waiting for signs of other people to join in and stand with him. He may have expected Surovikin to come out and basically, imagine the number 2 of the military coming out and saying the number 1 of the military, Shoigu, and the top general, Gerasimov, are corrupt. Don't follow them. We need to follow this guy. That could have caused a real problem. He didn't do it. Well, the article comes out in the Washington. Oh, by the way, so because he didn't do it, Prigozhin said, "Crap, right? I'm screwed now, right? The guy who was going to come out, my number 1 guy, is now not coming out. I'm screwed." Well, article comes out last night claiming that U.S. intelligence says that Surovikin knew. Surovikin has been missing since Saturday. He, according to Russian political bloggers, he was arrested. Then, according to some Russian media today, they also reported he was arrested. Nobody yet knows what happened to this guy. Supposedly, he put out some statement today that, I mean, classic Russian. He put out some statement today allegedly saying, I took the day off. And you're going, oh, sure you did. Sure you did. Middle of the week, right after a coup attempt, you decided, maybe I'll just go on holiday. Thank you, Martin. Maybe I'll just go on holiday. The problem for Putin is paranoid, as I said. And you've now got at least some suggestion that your top general, or one of your top generals is like your number 2 general, really. Thank you, Lee, for the gift, and Martin. One of your top generals might have been involved in the coup. Oh, and I should have said Surovikin was also very close to Prigozhin. Right. Thank you, B. Smith. So you already had the two men very close as far as, aligning, being friends, etc. If you're Putin, getting the lips moist. If you're Putin and you're paranoid, which he is, why wouldn't you just, thank you, Nicholas, why wouldn't you just get rid of Surovikin anyway, right? Just get rid of him. Just get rid of him, right? Thank you, Ocean Favor. Appreciate that. Who is it? And Lee Shaw, thank you. So I would not be surprised if he's been arrested. If you're Putin, you're paranoid. You can't risk having somebody at the top of your military, close to the top, who might be a traitor. And frankly, he is somebody who was close to Prigozhin. Why not get rid of him? So just to add to the fun of all the stuff going on, that's going on. Okay, so why hasn't Prigozhin been killed yet? This is something we talked about, not as a we want him killed, but as a typically Putin would have killed somebody like this. Why didn't he get rid of him, right? Why he hasn't done it yet? Why instead did he reach some kind of negotiated deal with him? Institute for Study of War weighed in on this. Let me read this. Putin has likely decided that he cannot directly eliminate Prigozhin without making him a martyr. Prigozhin still retains some support within Russian society and the Russian regular military forces, and the Kremlin will need to ensure that these groups become disillusioned with Prigozhin to effectively deprive him of his popular support in Russia. In other words, before they go after him, they've got to convince people he's actually a bad man. This is something I said last night. Remember when I talked about Putin making these weird noises about how he's given billions of dollars. Oh, thank you for the paper crane there, Dora. He's given billions of dollars to the Wagner group, and where has the money gone? Maybe we need an investigation, right? That makes me think that Putin, I said yesterday, that Putin feels he needs to discredit Prigozhin before he actually goes after him. A little more from Institute for the Study of War. Prigozhin campaigned for military command changes by accusing the Russian Ministry of Defense of mistreating regular Russian military personnel in combat, a message that likely appealed to many servicemen and their families disillusioned with the mobilization, the casualties, supply shortages, and the great loss of life. The Kremlin needs to separate Prigozhin's cause from his persona, lest an attack on Prigozhin be perceived as a Kremlin attack on his popular narrative and his stated objectives of punishing the criminally incompetent Russian military leadership, right? So Prigozhin put himself in a pretty good situation here. I'm here to defend the boys. I'm here to defend your children who are being killed by these corrupt people, and then Putin turns and kills him. It looks like Putin doesn't care about the military boys. And in fact, he killed Prigozhin because he didn't care about the military boys, right? So it makes a lot of sense, actually. Kramatorsk, quick update on this. Remember yesterday I told you guys about the Russians launching a really horrific missile attack on the town of Kramatorsk over here in free Ukraine, right on the edge of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. The Russians, remember, control all of this. So Kramatorsk is right here. The latest numbers are 11 are dead. This was a precision missile strike. They believe now they were Iskander cruise missiles. This was a precision missile strike on a pizza parlor, a civilian target. Dozens. I think the number might have been 39 or 40 people injured. The Kremlin has put out misinformation. Thank you, Dudike. Oh, that's a very nice one. Thank you. Has put out misinformation that, dozens of NATO troops were there and they all got killed and this kind of garbage. The Kremlin likes to do this every few months. They did it before, claiming that there was, they claimed that it was, what was it? oh yes, there were like dozens of NATO generals in bunkers that the Russians blew up somewhere in southern Ukraine. I'm putting my light up a little higher. There we go, with the sun coming in. And total BS. Well, this is BS too. There's absolutely nothing. Yep, Syndicate is saying latest news is that Surovikin has been arrested. The only thing is, Syndicate, thank you, Russell, I didn't see a credible source saying it definitively. What we've seen is stories saying the Russians are reporting, Russian media saying perhaps, Russian military bloggers. Is there anything a little more concrete that may have just come in? I'm just curious. Yeah, in any case, reported by the Moscow Times. Woo! Yes. Okay, Moscow Times is pretty credible. If the Moscow Times is saying, well, the only question would be, who is Moscow Times putting down as the sources? Would be my question. And this is one of the things, by the way, actually, I'll tell you guys, as far as whenever you're looking at media stories, just to give you sort of a window as to how I look at this stuff and try to vet news. When I'm looking at papers, anybody telling a news story, I look, first of all, is the news source itself credible? Because they would tend to vet the story. They would tend to check the story. So if it's the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and me being American, that lends a lot of credibility for me because typically they would go and really check the story. Okay. Thank you, Russell. If it's the Moscow Times, I don't trust them as much, but I therefore want to know much more strongly who they're citing. Now, Syndicate just put in here, citing two sources close to the defense ministry who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, right? Because what I was wondering about is, for example, were they saying, according to multiple military bloggers, which is what they were saying previously, not they, but other sources. Okay, so that's pretty good. My read on that would be still not definitive, but pretty good sourcing. If two different sources close to the defense ministry say they arrested him, that means there's a good chance he was arrested. This is great. By the way, thank you, Nico. Another aspect of why this is so good is it's good for Ukraine and it really screws up Russia. I talked a little bit yesterday about why this coup is such a disaster for the war effort and why it's so good for Ukraine. Just looking at the war effort, okay? One of the things is when you look at the front, all right, Ukraine's fighting three kind of big areas right now. That's a good question. Sorry, really quick. CK Ariat just asked, Carrie asked, does Prigozhin have a warrant from the International Criminal Court? I remember when the story came out last week, people were talking about how he's a war criminal. And I believe they weren't saying it metaphorically. I believe they were saying it for real. Does anybody know? Was Prigozhin already, was an International Criminal Court warrant already issued against him? Just curious. Because again, there was the talk of him being a war criminal that wasn't, metaphorical. Like he's a war criminal. It was like literally he's a war criminal. He's wanted. So there aren't a lot of countries he can go to, is what people had said. Not yet. Okay. Nope. I'm seeing yes and no. Back in 2019. Jason's being very specific here. All right. That's a very specific to get it wrong, Jason. What was it for? Just curious. Was it for like Syria or something? I'm going to guess. International Criminal Court prosecuted the case 3 months ago with UN representation. Oh, really? Interesting. Okay. All right. Wanted by the FBI as well. Okay. War crimes in Africa and Syria. Okay. Thank you, Trelitic. Syria. I was going to suspect Syria. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he's already wanted for that stuff. I believe they haven't gone after them yet for Ukraine. I don't know that anybody's been gone after yet for Wagner Group war crimes in Ukraine. I don't know that that's happened yet. I'm sure it will at some point, but I don't know yet. So let me just go here. Okay. Thank you guys for that. Let me keep going here. What was I saying with the, what was I saying, guys? I was going off on this. What was I saying real quick? That was helpful though. I wanted to make sure I had that information. Shoot, I'm forgetting what we were. I've got other stuff to talk about, but I was in the middle of a thought on something with the war crimes. I know what it was. I was talking about how this impacts the military and how this impacts the war in Ukraine. So the deal is that, that's what I was saying, the front. So Ukraine, thank you, Trelitic. Ukraine is fighting right now, three sort of main fronts at the moment, okay? One is over here in Bakhmut. They're trying to take Bakhmut back. One is over here kind of southwest of Donetsk. One is over here, kind of southeast of Zaporizhia, well, Zaporizhia town, city over here, okay? Along this front in general, around 25% of the Russian soldiers they're fighting are Wagner Group. So in the front area, around 25% are Wagner Group. Are they not fighting now? Thank you, Deemer. I'll have a little bit more in a second. Are they not fighting now? Is Wagner Group being disbanded? I mean, it seems Putin told them you can either join the Ministry of Defense, you can either become regular Russian soldiers, that means disbanding. You can go home, that means disbanding, or you can go join Prigozhin in Belarus in exile, that means disbanding. So either way, 25% of Russia's troops on the front line seem to be going away. Second problem for Russia, they don't trust these guys. If you're Putin, you can't, it doesn't matter who did and didn't. I mean, Putin's full of it by saying, well, those who joined in the coup, we're not going to trust, but the rest of you are fine. Thank you, Togas. That was one of the things we heard early on with the coup. Putin has to assume, and by the way, Putin's paranoid. Hey, Denis in Kyiv, it's good to see you. Putin has to assume, he should assume as a smart leader, but he will assume as a paranoid leader that every single Wagner Group guy is out to kill him, that every single guy agreed with Prigozhin, or he wouldn't be in the Wagner Group. That means Putin pretty much has to get rid of the Wagner Group entirely. That's 25% of the Russian front fighting Ukraine right now. That's terrible for Russia, and it's great for Ukraine. Russian troops themselves have to now worry about the Wagner Group guys, right? Are they insurrectionists? Are they guys willing to kill their fellow military? I mean, the Wagner guys killed at least 13 Russian soldiers during the insurrection, right? I mean, so anyway, it sows a lot of doubt, hurts a lot of morale amongst the Russians, and it really helps the Ukrainians because they're now fighting a weaker force, but also it's just, this is great news for Ukraine to watch all of this happen and see Wagner win. Oh, final point. Not only, I was sort of assuming you know this, but when I said that Wagner makes up 25% of the front, thank you, United States, for the hat. Not only is Wagner a significant portion of Russia's troops at the front, 25%, but the Wagner Group is so much better than the regular Russian military. I mean, they're murderers, they're war criminals, but they're very efficient murderers and war criminals. These guys are much better than regular Russian troops. So Russia is losing 25,000 and 25,000 of its best troops and 25% of its troops at the front who just happen to be its best troops. That's a disaster for Russia. Let me do a quick pitch for thank you, Crazy American, for my work. So I do this full time. As I said, I've been doing it full time since the war broke out. Nobody pays me. I'm not rich, but I make money. I mean, literally, my salary comes from all the crazy gifts you guys give me and stuff, which I very much appreciate. Our auctions we do on the Discord, things like that. One way you can support me, and I think we've pretty much settled, hopefully it's easy enough for folks to do, but is by either giving a one-time donation or a monthly donation. I prefer the monthly just because it's a way of sort of keeping the money coming in, seeing how much is coming each month. There are a number of ways of doing it, very simple. The one main way we're pushing is Ko-fi.com. Thank you, Jackie, for that. Oh, Jackie for the rose and Jesse for the hat. Ko-fi, it's ko-fi.com/Aravosis. You guys have it right there at the bottom of the screen. You guys can find the link in my TikTok profile. Click the Linktree link. First thing that comes up is Ko-fi. You go to Ko-fi and you can donate once if you want, which is fine, just a one-time donation. Thank you very much. Or you can give a monthly donation, which I would really prefer because that way I know how much is coming in each month and it helps. Another way you guys can do it, I do have my Patreon as well in my links on at aravosis.com, which is my link of links. You guys can find the link in my profile. Again, that page has Patreon, that page has PayPal, Venmo, lots of other things too. TikTok folks, YouTube folks, I finally turned on YouTube subscriptions, which Nick just very generously subscribed to today. So YouTubers can now do monthly subscriptions. They're the same price. Everybody takes a different amount, but I'm charging the same price because it's easier that way. They're the same price as the other subscriptions. And if you buy a monthly subscription on YouTube, it automatically makes you a VIP member of the Discord. Obviously, you've got to go to Discord, sign up, and from Discord, connect it to YouTube. But otherwise, if you're there, Syndicate, maybe when he wakes up tomorrow morning, but when I finish tonight, I'm going to make sure I've connected our Discord to the YouTube one last time. And because you're the first person we've had. So if you're not interested in Discord, it's fine. Then just leave it as is. But thank you if you have. In any case, that's my pitch for that. If you guys can help, I appreciate it. As I said, you can find out lots of ways of supporting me at aravosis.com, which is my last name. Thank you, Panda. mylastname.com gives you all the links, Ko-fi, Discord, etc. And please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok and keep the gifts coming on YouTube. Super chats and super stickers. All right, let me keep going here. Hey, Ruben. Okay, you got a shout out. Good to see you there. Oh, and we banned him. Why did we ban Ruben? Was he bad? Okay. I said hi, unless he was a bad person. I didn't see. All right, mods, I'm trusting you on this one. I just did a shout out to a troll, I guess. Oh, well, it happens. Actually, that's a good point. Colin's asking really quick. It's a good question. Is this the main counteroffensive where Ukraine is just testing the Russian strength? Ukraine is testing Russia's strength as the first salvo of the counteroffensive, okay? The counteroffensive, depending how you want. Oh, you wanted to shout out to Russia. Okay, see, let the record show, Cindy, that I said I trust the mods on this one. There must have been something. Thanks, Cindy. Oh well, that's hilarious. Thank you for getting him. So the counteroffensive. The counteroffensive could have started a couple months ago when Ukraine really upped the attacks it was doing on Russia's supplies. Right? They were. Luna, thank you. We got a second member. This is great. Like, you guys are the first people to subscribe at all on YouTube. So thank you for that. I didn't know it was even going to give me a little notice during the show. Thank you so much for that. The counteroffensive, right. So Ukraine started by going after Russian logistics. They started by blowing up a lot of Russian ammunition depots, things like that, right? Supplies for the Russians. Then a couple weeks ago, Ukraine finally started by actually going to war and trying to take land back. So initially it wasn't to take land. The beginning of the counteroffensive was to soften up the Russians, to weaken them before invading, right? So you blow up their defenses, you blow up their troops, in barracks and things, you blow up the military headquarters, and you blow up supplies, fuel. Remember, they were blowing up, thank you for the hat there, who's a cherry. Remember when the Ukrainians were blowing up a lot of oil refineries and oil storage, going after their supplies. Then the Ukrainians invade. Thank you, Michael. You guys are being great on YouTube today. Thank you so much for helping out. I appreciate that. Paul, everyone's subscribing on YouTube. You guys are amazing. Thank you all. I didn't expect this. I wasn't sure if anybody was going to subscribe on YouTube. I literally just set it up. So thank you for that, all of you. Yeah, I know. I'm very excited. You guys, this is so sweet of you guys. Sorry, you're flustering me, which is good though. It's a good fluster because I'm so happy. Thank you. So now Ukraine is trying to get the I'm not sure how to subscribe actually. Can somebody tell? I'm assuming there's a button there somewhere on the screen for the YouTubers on how to subscribe. I have no idea on my end. Can maybe somebody, one of the mods, if you can tell? I know it is funny. It's funny. Anyway, it's funny. Okay. So Ukraine starts the actual let's take land back aspect of the counteroffensive. That starts a few weeks ago. They've gradually been taking land back, but a little bit. But even this part where they're getting land back is testing the Russian front. Okay. The Russian front basically means, quite literally, thank you, MYZ, is the area between Russian troops and Ukrainian troops. Okay. So Russia controls all of this, right? So the front is going to be the area between Russian troops and Ukrainian troops, more or less this line, okay? So the Ukrainians come down and they start testing the front. They're testing it here. They're testing it here. They're testing it here, right? And they're trying to get land back, but they're also trying to see how strong are the Russians? You know what I mean? Like, how effective are the Russians at getting the land, right? And it's not clear how effective they are. Oh, that's nice too. Sorry, I didn't realize it even gives you a different color and stuff too. That's so cool. Wow. How effective are the Russians at defending? Because what Ukraine's doing is, it's called probing in the military, but basically they're trying to win, but they're also just trying to see how strong or not strong are they? Right? It's the idea is, if they see the Russians suddenly cave, like the defenses just fall apart in one area, they may say, holy cow, this is the area we really want to do a big attack. And all of a sudden, a major part of the counteroffensive now becomes that area. But right now, as of a few days ago, only 30% of Russia's troops, of Ukraine's troops that they're going to use for the counteroffensive were put into action. Only 30%. Ukraine still had another 70% of their troops that were on deck waiting to go in. So this is the counteroffensive. It is not the main part of the counteroffensive, so to speak, because 70% of the troops are still sitting back. Thank you, Chad. It's also not the main part because the really scary part has not happened yet. It's still very difficult what Ukraine's doing, but Russia's super duper defensive lines are still coming. They might be 10 miles further south from where the Ukrainians are, which 10 miles might be, 15, 16 kilometers or so. So that's coming. That's going to be very scary. That will be a much more major part of the counteroffensive. But we don't know where they're going to be fighting yet. So anyway, that was a long answer, but I think it's an important question about the counteroffensive. But also, by the way, that's also why it's, I think, a little unfair to say so far, well, not much has happened. The counteroffensive isn't really doing very well. Ukraine clearly reached some strong Russian resistance. It was stronger, I think, than a lot of us thought. Thank you, David Newsham. Very sweet of you. I shouldn't say sweet to the guys. Very nice of you. Thank you for that. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the heart me. But because it's been going slowly. Thank you, Brock. Actually, you know what? By the way, I was just going to say, because it's going slowly, we shouldn't assume it's failed. One big reason is, from what we're hearing, it's not like Ukraine has lost, Ukraine hasn't lost all its troops. Ukraine hasn't lost, a third of its troops, right? They lost some tanks, and NATO stepped up and said, we're giving you more tanks, right? Thank you, Smiggy. They lost some of the American Bradley fighting vehicles, and the Americans stepped up and said, we're giving you more. So it's not like, oh, well, Ukraine used everything they've got and they've got nothing else. Now, the other issue, what Vic is saying, which is true, the Ukrainians don't have air support. There's a big problem. Thank you, Chezek. A big problem. We've talked about this before, and I always tell you guys, I'm not a military guy. I'm a foreign policy guy. So I'm aware of these things, but I'm not going to be the one to tell you in detail why the air support isn't sufficient. But all the experts will tell you that Ukraine is trying to fight this war with insufficient air power, and it's not their fault. But they don't have the air power they need to take on the Russians. Part of it is the F-16 debacle. And I say debacle because I've told you guys this before, and I will tell you again right now. The U.S. has still not even approved of who can do the F-16 training. The U.S., because there are planes, we have to approve of which country gets to do the training. Thank you, Yevgeny, for the rose. Very nice of you. We've got to actually, oh, that's cute. You're Yevgeny Prigozhin. Well, I'm going to assume that's a cute joke. And you've got Prigozhin's picture. Hey, mods, as long as he doesn't write anything stupid, let's assume he's being funny. Okay. That's funny. The Russian name is Yevgeny Prigozhin, and he's got Prigozhin's picture. And he's sending roses. I'm gonna, like I said, unless you do something trolly, you're being funny, so it's fine with me. That's very funny. I'm going, thank you, Yevgeny, and I'm looking at his last name. I'm going, Prigozhin. I'm like, wait a minute. That's very funny. All right, see, and then Yevgeny made me forget because I was laughing. All right, let's keep going. Let me keep moving here. All right. Some opinion polls. This is really interesting. I do have a lot of news today to give you guys, actually. Interesting opinion polls from Russia and from America. I can read Cyrillic. My Russian is really crappy, but because I studied it for a year, I can read the Cyrillic at least. So names are easy and all of that. Yeah. So listen to this. A series of opinion polls, America and Ukraine. A new opinion poll in Russia conducted before the Wagner mutiny shows nearly equal numbers of Russians wanting to continue the war or start peace negotiations. Kind of interesting. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the gift. And thank you, Kay, for signing up on YouTube. You guys are amazing over there. Thank you so much today. I really appreciate it. And I told you, I love it too, because I can see the green now, which is nice. On my end, I'm using sort of a Streamlabs, which pulls everybody together, but I can see the green names, so I know who are the folks who got the subscriptions, which is very nice. You know what I'll do? And I will always try to scroll and see some of the subscription people as well for your questions. I'll try. There's no guarantee because, we're jumping around here, but at least I'm able to see who you are, which is great, which also is nice because I know who you are, but I'll try. Thank you. Oh, you guys can see it too. Nice. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Well, it's nice because it's the same thing we do on our Discord, actually. We have sort of a way of different colors and things just so you sort of acknowledge people who are contributing, which is nice. I think if people want to be generous, it's good to acknowledge them. So thank you. Okay, so new opinion poll. Equal numbers of Russians want to continue the war thank you, Andy, as want to enter peace negotiations. However, 64% support a fresh attack on Kyiv. 58% believe the war is going well. 45% of respondents support continuing. It's all over the place, though. 45% support continuing the war. 44% want peace negotiations. Okay. Now, a little bit broken. Listen to what happens here. If Putin decides to attack Kyiv again, like I said, I'm sorry, I'm repeating it here. Wait, here's this. Oh, here we go. Okay. 44% want peace negotiations. 45 want to continue the war. So it's 50 split evenly. Okay. If a new mobilization is declared, so if Putin decides to do another big draft, the 44% that want to see peace rises to 53% if Putin does another draft. And if Putin does another draft, the 45% who support the war drops to 35%. So you're seeing like a 10-point swing down in support for the war and 10-point swing up for wanting peace if Putin has another draft. Right? Remember, we've talked about this, thank you, Jetta. Now, mind you, polls in Russia are very difficult because understandably you're in a dictatorship and a lot of people are very careful about admitting, right. I mean, do you support the war? I mean, do you really want to admit that to a stranger on the phone? You know what I mean? It's kind of a dangerous thing to be admitting. Nonetheless, this kind of swings, if they're real, explains why Putin has been so careful about having a military draft. He did do the draft last fall, and remember, up to 1 million men fled the country. He hasn't done it since. He hasn't mobilized the nation for war. He isn't even calling it a war. Thank you, Jules. I love how the gifts do adapt to your head. Very good. Thank you, pediatric nurse. And this would be an explanation as to why, that he's seeing the same kind of numbers internally and is seeing that the Russian public or a sizable percentage of the Russian public could turn against him if he turns this into a real war, mobilizing the country. 58% believe the war is going well, with only 21% believing it's going badly. That I thought was interesting. And the figure has barely changed since April of 2022. So the percentage of Russians thinking the war is going well versus going badly has not changed since the war started. That's a little screwed up. Thank you, Louis. And finally, this is interesting. Young people aged 18 to 29, 53%, are the only demographic with a majority who say the war should not have been fought. So 53% of young people say the war should not have been fought, but they're the only people. Interesting. Americans. So now American poll, American support of the war. Very good poll, by the way. I've got to tell you, on the American poll, there's a part of me that wonders if the poll is wrong because it's too good. It's changed too much. And hang on a sec, a little tea. When you're talking about polling, polls that are just too, hang on a sec. Polls that are just a little bit too, okay, you're leaving. Polls that are just a little bit too much of an improvement are hang on a second. I've got somebody pretending to be a supporter, but they're being evil. Polls that improve way too much too quickly, you call an outlier, meaning all the polls seem to be in this area, and then there's one all the way up here. It probably means that poll is wrong. Listen to this. I'm not convinced. I hope this is true, but I'm not convinced. Reuters. Solid majorities of Americans support providing weapons to Ukraine to defend itself against Russia and believe that such aid demonstrates to China and other U.S. rivals a will to protect U.S. interests and allies. 81% of Democrats, 56% of Republicans, and 57% of independents express support for supplying Ukraine. This was it. Overall, the number is 65% of Americans who continue to support giving aid to Ukraine. The number in May, so currently 65% of Americans support continuing aid to Ukraine. In May, it's only June, so a month and a half ago, the number was 46%. So Americans went from 46% supporting supplying weapons to 65% supplying weapons in just a month. It feels weird to me. It just feels weird. I mean, that's a heck of an increase, and I'm having a hard time understanding why it would change so much. I mean, maybe because now it's possible because the counteroffensive started that Ukraine is much more in the news, and for that reason, right? People are hearing about it and they care about it. I don't know. I'm just not sure what I don't know. I don't know. Thank you, Sean, for the gift there. It might be real. It might not be real. Like I said, it's good news if it's true, but thank you, Marcy. I like to be upfront with you guys. Don't always believe the good news, I guess is what I'm telling you. But hey, better than the bad news, you know? You know. Well, we got it. The driver. Oh, this was good news. So the driver.com reports that Ukraine could be in line. Thank you, Jedamam, for the llama. Ukraine could be in line to receive the Kongsberg Naval Strike Missile, or NSM, from Polish stocks. Thank you, 863, with reports in the Polish media suggesting that talks between Ukraine and Poland about a possible transfer of these coastal defense systems are underway. A report on defense24.pl website says that negotiations are at an advanced stage. The NSM would provide Ukraine with a powerful ability to attack both naval and land targets at distances of over 124 miles. Lithuania is purchasing 2 Norwegian NASAM surface-to-air missile systems. These, at least it was being talked about as this might give Ukraine some systems that it could use at the front, possibly. It could be used in cities too, but they might be able to use these at the front, which is good. Switzerland blocked the re-export of 96 Leopard tanks to Ukraine. The 96 non-operational Leopard 1 tanks currently in Italy were supposed to be sent to Germany to be modernized and delivered to Ukraine, but Switzerland rejected the plan because of its neutrality policy. And finally, this was a little blip in a Sky News story that I thought was very funny. Dmitry Medvedev, remember he's the guy who always talks about nuclear war. He was the Russian prime minister and the Russian president like 20 years ago. He was the one that we thought was the reformer. He was the moderate, and now he's Looney Tunes. Well, the one always talking about nuclear war. He's been missing since the coup. He hasn't been talking. This one line, Sky News. Mr. Medvedev's personal aircraft went to Oman over the weekend and hasn't come back. So it looks like he fled the country. Not clear why he fled the country, but he fled the country. And that's that. Thank you, Jules, for the heart. And by the way, who just did the wonderful desert for me? It's not showing me. Okay, this is a flaw that TikTok doesn't know it has. I have just detected a flaw. So what TikTok does on some of the GIFs, it shows at the very top of the screen what the gift is, who gave it, and then it goes away, but it doesn't show it in the actual line of the comments. Whereas the rest of the gifts, it says Judy sent a rose, Jules sent the little heart me, but it doesn't show you for the other stuff. So whoever just gave that, thank you for the desert island. If anybody saw who did it, I would appreciate just letting me know, because I like to thank people personally, but thank you for that. TikTok, evil. All right, guys. I know TikTok's flawed. You know, what do you do? All right, guys, let's go to the Q&A. Was it you, Globetrotter? I'm going to trust you on that one. Thank you if it was. Thank you, Lucas, for the hat. You see how Lucas's hat, actually, it says Lucas sent a hat and mustache. It's actually staying there. But some of the gifts, it shows at the top and then goes, boom, off the screen. Very weird. All right, guys, let's do questions and answers. Thank you, Martin, for the piñata. So you guys can submit your questions. We got Cliff. I see your question there on YouTube. You guys can submit questions via the Q&A link in my profile. That's probably the best way, because that way it won't go away. Oh, I did see that, Syndicate. Yeah, I'll mention it. That's a good point. Oh, thank you for the good evening, Len. Len or Lev? Oop, I don't know if it was Len or Lev, whichever. Hazel with the very cool monkey. Thank you. Cliff. Kiev reported its army was hit by poison gas artillery last week. It blew back on the Russians. Why has Biden's NATO not said a word or invoked Article 5? I did not hear about that. I don't know. I don't know. But I have not heard about it. So my only concern would be, if the media hasn't picked up on it, it may be a story where the initial story came out and some people thought it was, and then they realized it wasn't. That would be my guess, because otherwise the major media would have picked it up. I mean, that's big news. You know, they're not going to sit on it. So that would be my only thought. Maybe kind of the story got pulled back. Because I would agree, if it's a real story, you know, obviously you go with it. It's not something you sort of sit on. Sorry, let me look here. I got Cliff. Yeah, Syndicate mentioned, and you are right, the Koran burning. So there was another Koran burning in Sweden. And I will say the Swedes kind of handled this oddly. Thank you. Oh, it's Len, not Lev. Thank you, Len. Appreciate the notes there. So there was another burning of the Muslim holy book in Sweden. The Swedish government gave permission for the protest. Thank you, Kevin, because it pretty much said, they can't block free speech. Sort of like in the US, not sort of. In the US, for example, it's the government can limit protests, but not simply because they don't like your message. So the government can't limit your protest simply because, oh, you're going to burn a Bible and we don't like Bible burning, or we don't like flag burning, for example. Right. There was a big Supreme Court case that said you can burn a flag, right? Unless the government, so it's actually, I shouldn't say that. I think I've got to remember what the Supreme Court did on it. But anyway, flag burning currently is legal in America. Nothing you can do about it because it's freedom of speech. Right. Well, Sweden seems to have a similar doctrine on freedom of speech, and they have been letting people protest who don't like Muslims, and they're clearly racists. They burned a Koran before. The Turks are using it to their advantage to try to thank you, Carrie Cunningham, for that, for being a new member on YouTube. The Turks are using it to their advantage to basically use it as a reason to stop Sweden from joining NATO. And some idiot decided to burn another Koran today. Now, I will say, the Swedes' response to this was a little strange. The Swedes did not, they allowed the protest, but once the guy actually started burning the Koran, they arrested him and claimed it was promoting hatred against an ethnic minority or something like that, which in Swedish law is a crime. If that was the case, could you not have done it before? Thank you, Jesse. Could they not have arrested him proactively? Not arrested him, excuse me. Could you not have blocked the protest? Could you not have said, we will not give a permit for this protest, and if you sign up to do a protest without a permit, we will arrest you, right? Because so I don't know. All I know is it's a mess. The Turks, of course, are going, right? Fire. The Turks are losing it. So big surprise there. But bottom line, when it comes to Erdogan and Turkey, he's doing it on purpose. He's screwing around. He couldn't care less about the Koran in this case. He's doing it to screw around. So yeah, was not very helpful to what's going on in terms of what's going on with Sweden joining NATO. So let me look here. My neighbors, by the way, are talking about the fire alarms going. Are we expecting another fire alarm? You remember yesterday around this time, we had our wonderful fire alarm go off. It was not an actual fire. It was just our alarm being evil. Maybe the Russians got to it. Turkey's premier does love Russia. Questions. Sweden. Oh, somebody says that you're really funny. Just asked the same thing. Wawa just asked, how do you think it'll affect the NATO application? It's going to make Erdogan dig in even more. Thank you, Forge of Nerds. The question when it comes down to it is why Erdogan's been doing this. No, thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that. Thank you. The question becomes why Erdogan's doing it. I think in the end, he wants something. He wants to use this as a bargaining chip to get more weapons out of NATO or something, but that's why he's doing it. So this just gives him more of a bargaining chip where he's able to go, you see, look how bad the Swedes are. I'm not letting them into NATO, right? Magical says, military.com also reporting U.S. sending $500 million in weapons, military aid. That is the weapons announced yesterday. I will almost guarantee you, because yesterday we announced $500 million. It includes, I believe, Stryker vehicles, maybe some more Bradleys, and I don't remember what else. But from the military folks I saw commenting on it, they thought it was an excellent weapons package, and it was an excellent package. Pam is saying, yep, that Biden announced, and it was sort of spot on for what Ukraine needs right now with the counteroffensive, the military experts were saying. So that's good. Yeah. So it's good. I mean, it's always good, but it was apparently particularly good for what's going on. I did talk about the UN report yesterday on torture. No offense. You missed it yesterday when I talked about it. Oh no, that's not true. Did I? A couple days ago, I mentioned the UN report on torture. Yes. Because I didn't go through all the detail, or didn't I? I thought I did. You know what? It's hard for me to know because, thank you, Chad, because there was a UN report coming out talking about the Russians committing torture of civilians. And I thought I did mention it. Because sometimes I don't get to all the stories because the last few days we've had the coup news. But I did mention that a few days ago. Yeah. Oh, hey, Michael. Same here. Oh, that's okay. I appreciate that. Well, people are allowed to lurk anyway, but I appreciate lurking and supporting even better than lurking. But it's allowed either way. Is it not a war? Is it not a war crime to shoot your own soldiers? Says Russell Kennedy. Huh. I have no idea. First of all, it would certainly depend why you're shooting them, even if it is. It would depend why you're shooting them, right? Oh, and I see Mark Heil. Thank you, Mark, for becoming a subscriber via Ko-fi. I appreciate that. Everyone's subscribing today. It's like a subscriber fest. Thank you, guys. You're all wonderfully wonderful. It would depend why you're killing them. For example, you can execute your own troops for treason, right? Not for desertions. No, what not for desertions? Thank you, Rose, for the heart. Right? I mean, these could be crimes, but I don't know that they're. I don't think it's a war crime. I don't think it's a war crime if you just kill your own troops. I don't think so. I mean, I guess the question becomes, thank you for the desert island there on TikTok. I guess I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know. I mean, I will say, sorry, somebody made a comment about Israel. I will say that, Israel is being supremely unhelpful. I mean, Israel, Netanyahu, look, I'm actually a supporter of Israel, but Netanyahu's a complete idiot. And I support the Palestinians too. I'm very sort of in the middle on that whole issue. But Netanyahu is horrible. But he said the other day, trying to justify again not giving Israel the support that they should be giving them. Thank you, Chris and Ted. Very nice of you. That they're not doing it because they're afraid of some of their weapons falling in the hands of like Hezbollah or Iran or whoever the hell. And it was just like, go away. Just go away. No, Israel being very bad ally of late. We know about Samuel. Oh, hey, Flower Lady, that's a new one. I don't remember seeing the garland before. That's very cool. Thank you, and thank you, Bodja. I appreciate that. So the bridgehead, I haven't heard anything about it. Samuel's asking about the bridgehead across the Dnipro. Yesterday, actually the last couple of days, we heard reports, but there was no update today that I saw. Reports that the Ukrainians were crossing the river here, actually right near the Antonivsky Bridge, I think it's called, but they were crossing the river on pontoons or whatever it was, or boats, right around here, coming south here, because this is the area the Russians, we believe, flooded, and once they flooded it, it just wiped out all of the Russian defenses. So it's pretty much defenseless right now. It's Ukrainian territory the Russians were occupying. So there were reports that the Ukrainians were moving into place, but I haven't heard anything in the last day on what's going on with that. Greek coffee, yeah. Because TikTok is the one that creates the gifts. I do not create the gifts. I accept the gifts, but I do not create them. Spectre. You rock. Thank you, Spectre, for becoming a new YouTube member. You guys are wonderful. Thank you. More questions, but feel free to throw questions on the screen on YouTube as well. Otherwise, I'll just keep going on the TikTok ones. I watch Sky News. I don't watch Sky News. I read Sky News online a lot. I also basically peruse the Kyiv Independent every day, Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNN. I think that's it for things that I absolutely look at. And then I'm also perusing. I've got like 150 people I follow, defense experts on Twitter. And I just go through my Twitter feed and just look for every little bit of information and then try to see, is it credible? Does it fit into, so it's not just like a rumor, or if it's a rumor, I tell you guys it's a rumor. So, but yeah, so a little bit of everything, but I don't watch Sky News, but I do read online, and they put up a lot of their videos, which is nice. So, is it true Polster? Is it true Poland is bolstering its border, according to 6EVO? That's what I'd read. Yeah, that they're bolstering their border. They're making their border stronger with Belarus because they're concerned, apparently, which isn't a bad idea, about the Wagner folks moving into Belarus. Thank you, Bonnie. And, Wagner, it's basically you've got a street gang moving into your neighborhood is what's happening, and how the Poles feel, and also the Baltic countries, and they're not wrong. So, and Germany actually just announced, I believe they announced that they agreed to move 4,000 troops permanently into one of the Baltic countries. I don't remember which one. I forget. And the only remaining issue is that the host country is going to, thank you, 863, is going to have to build barracks and things for the troops, and that hasn't been done yet. But that also is going to be part of what's going to happen to make these guys feel safer. Because again, Lithuania, okay, thank you, it's Lithuania, yeah, which is really neat. Okay. Yeah, I love Susan, and I love Patreon. Patreon's very easy, but Patreon unfortunately just has turned on all the Ukraine creators. They threaten me, they threaten a lot of people, so I'm just kind of, it's very easy to use, which I like, but I'm not allowed to use it, for example, with my Discord. They told me I can't. So no longer can people on Patreon who give donations be, can I link them and give them VIP access on my Discord? Because like I said, Patreon became evil. Michael Clark is amazing on Sky News. He is. The other one I like is the Sean Bell is very good too. Sash, you got to wait a little bit. My dog wants water. It's like she knows it's 7:00 and usually I end at 7-ish. So she's like, you should be over. You should be getting me more water. No, Patreon sent me a nasty letter that said, because it's just a whole long thing, but basically they don't want to support people who do things that also support the Ukrainian military and this kind of crap. So, you know what I mean? And it's not like I'm buying weapons for the Ukrainian military, right? I mean, give me a break. But they flipped out and said I wasn't allowed to connect my Patreon to my Discord, because on the Discord we have auctions, and in the auctions some of the money goes for camouflage nets for the military in addition to humanitarian aid, and that's military and blah blah blah. And it's just like, okay, seriously. I mean, no, I think it's a bunch of uber lefty but it's the crazies. It's the uber left crazy people, Anyway, let's get back to corrupt Russian genocidal maniacs. Okay, just kidding. We had a troll, so I was saying that for the troll's benefit. Any case, what else we got here? Interesting. Mike is weighing in and saying there's a Russian report of a battle on one of the islands near the dam tonight. However, given the low water level, I'm unclear whether it's downstream or upstream. The area is of importance for a possible. This is follow on. We're saying as far as any rumors about the Ukrainians crossing the river, which would be pretty wild. Thank you, the Mr. Russell for the gift. Thank you. What else we got? And the imminent Ukrainian crossing. Yep. That's okay, Susan. Whatever you can do. I appreciate it. Don't worry. Hey, Michael Bird, thank you for the gift there. Let me look at another question or two on TikTok, and then maybe we'll call. You know what? I'm thinking maybe we'll call it quits on time tonight, because then we could go over to Discord and hang out a while, which we've not done in several days. But now that I'm on a good time schedule for tonight, like I said, I'll do another. What was the reaction by Russians to Prigozhin's video? We don't know. The poll that I saw, thank you. I'm not that whoever you are for the thingy, and Russell Miles for the TikTok, or Myers. We don't know what the Russian reaction is yet to the coup. We don't know. Yeah. Is Ukraine running out of ammo, gun ammo? I don't know. There were concerns about Ukraine running out of ammo like April and May of this year already. But then I think a lot of stuff came in, so we don't really know. And honestly, it's the kind of thing where they're not going to tell us, and it's not like NATO is going to tell us publicly and say, hey, the Ukrainians are running out in 3 months, right? They're not going to tell the Russians that. So we just don't know. How long before Prigozhin is dead? I'll end with that one because that's a good sort of summation of talking about the coup and everything else. In the end, I think Putin will kill him. Putin and the Russians seem to have a long memory for killing, people who disagree with them, right? They go after the defectors abroad years later, they poison them and they kill them and everything else. What Putin is needing to do first is he needs to discredit Prigozhin. And I talked about this earlier. Institute for Study of War was saying the same thing. I said it last night, but ISW said it tonight. Actually, I shouldn't say that. They wrote theirs last night too. So they published theirs while I was on the show. I guess I didn't see it. But Prigozhin has been a man of the people. I mean, he's a war criminal from our perspective, but he's a man of the people. But he is a war criminal. But from their perspective, he cares about the regular soldiers. He was complaining about the Minister of Defense and the top general not caring about the troops and losing battles, about not giving enough ammunition, about men dying because the Ministry of Defense was corrupt, right? and how we got into this war we only got into this war because the rich oligarchs, the rich men wanted to fleece Ukraine. And that's the only reason. The war was a lie. So right now, if Putin were to kill him, it would look like Putin's killing the guy who is standing up for the troops. He doesn't want to do that, right? So I think what Putin is going to probably try to do is this whole issue. I gave $2 billion with a B, $2 billion to the Wagner group over the last year. And where's the money gone? Putin will discover financial records that show that Prigozhin is corrupt and blah, 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 blah. And they'll try to convince the public that he's corrupt and probably throw his ass in jail, is my guess. And that way, no longer will the people love him, and then Putin can get him. Now, whether he kills him or throws him in jail, who knows? He may want to kill him, though, because Prigozhin is a political threat to him. Prigozhin is not just somebody who betrayed him. He's somebody who, clearly kind of wants to run the country, I think, and Putin can't have that. Putin can't have that. All right, let me do the quick summary here, and then we will go to Discord for a few minutes. It's discord.aravosis.com. Our Discord community is free, but if you become a paid subscriber on YouTube, like a bunch of you just did, which is fabulous, and if you become a paid subscriber on the Ko-fi site or on Discord itself has a subscription you guys can do as well, that will make you a VIP member of the Discord, which gives you special access on our auctions, and it also gives you access to my Sunday show. My Saturday show, which is almost every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, U.S. That's 11 a.m. New York City time. Okay, quick summary of the stories we covered today. It is day 489. Oh, TikTok has not. Sadly, Bob, TikTok has still not fixed the linking problem with Discord. So TikTok offers, but it doesn't work, a connection where if you subscribe on TikTok, you also can become a VIP member of the Discord. It doesn't work. And it doesn't work for anybody. I know a bunch of other creators, and we all got together and they all had the same problem. We've put in a complaint to TikTok. They know about it, but there's been no news on whether they're going to try to fix it or not, which is kind of crazy because TikTok literally offers this as one of the things you can do is link the TikTok subscriptions to Discord. So they're offering something that's broken. So hopefully one of the engineers sees it and goes, hey, that's not a very good thing. So if anybody has a good connection to China, give a holler to Xi. So it's day 489 of Putin's 3-day special military operation. The Wall Street Journal reports that Russian intelligence found out about the Prigozhin plot to grab Shoigu and Gerasimov, the two top Defense Department or Ministry of Defense officials in Rostov, and that may be the reason that Prigozhin expedited his plans. And in the end, seemed to be winging it because he might have been winging it. His plan may have been just to kidnap them when they were visiting a Russian city right next to Ukraine. Also, media reported that it is possible that General Surovikin, who is a top, I believe he might be the number 2 in the Russian Ministry of Defense, a top Prigozhin supporter, that he may have just been arrested because there are intelligence reports from the West suggesting that Surovikin knew about the coup, that Prigozhin approached him, and Prigozhin may have even gotten him to sign off. In other words, this guy was going to stand up and help Prigozhin. Well, we don't know whether it's true or not. What we do know is there's lots of reports, including now from the Moscow Times, that this guy, Surovikin, the general, is now been arrested. And I mean, big trouble for Moose and Squirrel if this guy's in jail now. Institute for Study of War talked about what I literally just talked about, why Putin hasn't killed Prigozhin, how basically he doesn't want to turn him into a martyr. So he needs to discredit him first, which I was saying he'll probably do with financial issues, is my guess. Let me look here, make sure I did not miss you guys. Good. Boom. Kramatorsk, Russia yesterday hit a pizza parlor in a town in eastern Ukraine. They've killed 11 civilians now with, I believe, 40 civilians injured, at least 11 people dead. A new opinion poll in Russia conducted before the Wagner mutiny shows nearly equal numbers of Russians want to continue the war and want peace negotiations. A Reuters poll shows solid majorities of Americans support providing weapons to Ukraine to defend itself against Russia and believe that such aid demonstrates to China and other U.S. rivals a willingness to protect U.S. interests and allies. The Driver.com reports that Ukraine could be in line to receive the Königsberg naval strike missile from Poland. with reports in the Polish media suggesting that talks between the two countries about a possible transfer are underway. Lithuania is purchasing 2 Norwegian NASAMS, advanced surface-to-air missile systems, to give to Ukraine. They are short to medium-range ground-based air defense systems and used to target unmanned aerial vehicles, helicopters, cruise missiles, and more. Switzerland blocked the re-export of 96 Leopard tanks to Ukraine. And finally, Dmitry Medvedev has been missing. He's the crazy lunatic who 3 times a week talks about nuking the West. His personal aircraft went to Oman over the weekend, and he never came back. Oh, it would be joyous if something happened to him, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe he knew about it too. That would be pretty funny. All right, guys. Thank you. So yeah, we got to 250,000 likes. Thank you guys for cheering that on. I was watching you cheer that on TikTok. Thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us. I mean, seriously, thank you all so much. You guys, especially tonight, all the TikTok gifts, all the YouTube subscribers. We also had a ton of YouTube, the super chat and super stickers, just really wonderful across the board. And mods, thank you. I saw you guys promoting it too. So thank you for doing that. Just everybody just very much appreciate it. Like I said, it's nice. It's nice to have the support. So thank you. Let's go over to Discord. We'll go to Discord and hang out a little bit. Thank you, Steve. We'll go to Discord and hang out a little bit. It's free. It's discord.aravosis.com. You can also just find the link at aravosis.com. Okay. That's my last name.com, and scroll like probably the number 2 link is Discord. You can go there. It's free. And we will be in the section called John's After Party. Okay. So go join us. And like I said, usually we hang out for half an hour or something. I don't know. All right. Let's go, guys. I'll see you over there. Thank you all. Have a good night. Otherwise, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time, US, I will be back to talk about that day's news from Ukraine. All right. All right. Thanks, everybody.